The 19th Amendment.
The women's fight for the right to vote.
I'm Rylan Vickers.
And I'm Kaylee Hunter.
On March 31st, 1776, Abigail Adams wrote to her husband, John Adams, pleading with him to include women in the extreme changes in the laws of this new country.
I long to hear that you have declared an independency. In the new code of laws, I desire you would remember the ladies. Do not put such unlimited power into the hands of the husbands.
John Adams responded, I cannot but laugh. Depend upon it. We know better than to repeal our masculine systems. Indeed, the writing of the Declaration of Independence omitted any mention of rights for women.
However, women would not be silenced forever.
In the mid-1800s, the fight began in earnest between suffragists and anti-suffragists. For 72 years, these two groups displayed continual conflict and compromise as they battled between equality and tradition.
1848, Wesleyan Chapel, Seneca Falls, New York. The very first women's rights convention held in the United States. The 200 women who were in attendance fought with vigor to achieve the goals to have equal rights with men.
Elizabeth Cady Stanton delivered the Declaration of Sentiments using language that was reflective of the writings of Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence.
Women, remember when we were young, desiring equality with all men? The time is now. It is 1848. Women, arise and let us fight to have a voice. Allow me to share the Declaration of Sentiments. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, because women do feel themselves aggrieved, oppressed, and fraudulently deprived of their most sacred rights, we insist that they have immediate admission to all the rights and privileges which belong to them as citizens of these United States.
The Seneca Falls Convention influenced the agenda for suffragists to speak up. Determined activists pleaded.
Sir, view my petition. We demand equal rights with men.
I will not sign. The polls are not decent places for women at present.
Then we are certainly needed there to make them decent.
Woman's suffrage would carry us back to the worst kind of savagery. The home would become a memory.
We have a vision of when a woman's home would be the whole wide world. A vision of a new knighthood, a new chivalry. A vision of when a man would not only fight for a woman, but for the rights of a woman.
In the mid-1860s, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, along with her new friend and fellow suffragist, Susan B. Anthony, continued fighting for their right to vote on a national level. Miss Anthony, you are most certainly not going to be casting a vote today. You know well that only the men of this country are permitted by law to cast a ballot.
Be that as it may, I shall cast my vote this day. Unfortunately, 2 weeks later, I was arrested for voting illegally. Your Honor, I have many things to say. My every right, constitutional, political, civil, and judicial, has been tramped upon. I not only have no jury of my peers, but I have had no jury at all.
Miss Anthony, you have been tried. My decision has been rendered by law.
Yes, but the laws made by men, under a government of men, interpreted by men, for the benefit of men. The only chance women have for justice in this country is to violate the law as I have done and as I shall continue to do.
Miss Anthony, your sentence is a fine of $100 and the cost of the prosecution.
I shall never pay $1 of your unjust penalty. It is my objective to educate all women to do precisely as I have done. To rebel against your man-made, unjust, unconstitutional forms of law that tax, fine, and imprison women while denying them the right of representation in our government. And I shall earnestly and persistently continue to urge all women, resistance to tyranny is obedience to God.
On March 12, 1884, Susan B. Anthony testified before Congress supporting an amendment to the U.S. Constitution stating,
shall prohibit the disenfranchisement of citizens of the United States on account of sex.
However, The amendment was denied repeatedly over the next 42 years, dealing a major blow to the suffrage movement.
Determined suffragists pressed on, putting their reputations aside, despite the concessions and divisions they would soon face. Women throughout this nation ignited a spark, eventually spreading like wildfire throughout their communities and, in time, their nation.
What in tarnation? Suffragists driving men to the polls in California won the state's vote. Washington passed. That's now 6 suffragist-friendly states. I ain't getting anywhere with that amendment. I'll see to it that the Southern manhood steps in.
1917, Washington, D.C. Women gathered in front of the White House to silently protest. President Wilson did not acknowledge their request to submit the Susan B. Anthony Amendment to Congress.
At first they were ignored. Then Democrats of Congress ordered them to be arrested. They're sent to a prison with detestable conditions.
After weeks of this harsh treatment, Alice Paul, the chairman of the National Women's Party, changed her strategy of protest. The hunger strike. They starved themselves.
So we forced them.
I was seized and laid on my back where 5 people held me, one leaping on my knees. Dr. Gannon then forced the tube through my lips and down my throat. I was suffocating and gasping from the agony of it. I did not know where to breathe from. And then everything turned black.
After this unfortunate event, President Wilson recognized the suffragists would go to any length, receiving any attention, gaining momentum needed. Would America hear their cry?
President Wilson proposed the Susan B. Anthony Amendment to Congress once more in 1919, now renamed the 19th Amendment.
The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation.
It passed through Congress rather quickly, then on to the states for ratification.
In just 1 year's time, the last ratification just so happened to be in the hands of a mother, an opposing legislator's mother.
Advice from a mother? Guilt from a mother? Whatever the accord, it was enough weight on one man's shoulders to change the course of history. On August 18, 1920, Harry T. Byrne walked into the Tennessee Legislative Hall, fully aware that this last vote needed a 2/3 majority in favor to pass. His agenda of opposing the vote was clear. Then Harry remembered a letter from his mother.
Dear son, hurry and vote for the suffrage and don't keep them in doubt. Don't forget to be a good boy and help Miss Cat put the rat in ratification. My political career is on the line here. Do I vote as the constituents back home would have me vote? Or do I vote as my heart tells me I should? My own mother, a college-educated woman with an interest in politics, is denied the vote, while the indentured servants who work for her are allowed to? Heck, some of them can't even read, much less understand politics. I believe a mother's advice is always safest for her boy to follow.
On August 26, 1920, the state of Tennessee officially became the 36th state to ratify the 19th Amendment.
Both the antis
And the pro-suffragists had to compromise.
nearly 100 years ago, the suffragists won their 72-year battle with continual conflict and compromise. They fought to balance traditional roles with evolving equality. While sacrificing traditions, anti-suffragists recognized the importance of granting women a voice, admitting equal aspirations and unity within the home.
Pro-suffragists may have won the right to vote, but the fight for equal rights with men would continue. Neither Mrs. Stanton nor Miss Anthony lived to see the Susan B. Anthony Amendment passed into Congress as the 19th Amendment. Susan Anthony would say just 1 month before her death, "Oh, if I could but live another century to see the fruition for all the work for women. There is so much yet to be done." 9:32.